that autumn wind. Shout out to the Raiders, man, we about to win.
Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. I'm doing a Raiders vs. Chiefs preview. The 5 things the Oakland Raiders need to do to beat the Chiefs. Now, I got a little bit last week, and I'm not going to guarantee a win this week. So I need you guys in the comment section to be typing beat KC. And I want you also to predict the score, because this is a game that everybody needs to weigh in on. Raiders at the Chiefs in Arrowhead, Kansas City. The spread is +10. +10 spread. The over-under in this one is 51.5 points on BetDSI. And if you're like, okay, the Raiders are going to cover, you can see the BetDSI link below. It's chatsports.com/bet. Now, I'm seeing a lot of people type beat KC. I need the Raiders to beat KC. That one's for Chucky Heads, believe it, baby. Because if we do, we're in it. Both teams enter 7-5. The Chiefs and the Raiders are both at 7-5. And I think this team right now is a lot different, and I think we can all agree it's a lot different than the team that we were back in week 2. Now, sure, we've lost a lot of players, but I've seen the over-unders. I've seen the favorites. I think that the Raiders can cover the spread in this game, and I think if the Raiders really limit the Chiefs' offense being on the field, that's how we're going to win this football game. So Blake Dufresne says beat KC. Monica, what up, girl, says beat KC. Ron Justice says 34-31 in overtime. Jerome says 27-21 Raiders. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of beat KCs. I'm seeing a lot of score predictions. I also am going to ask for one more favor. Mark this in your calendar. We're doing a Raiders vs. Chiefs watch party on our Chat Sports main channel. So it's not going to be on the Raiders channel. It's going to be on our Chat Sports main channel. The channel's got about 143,000 subscribers, so make sure you go support it. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. I need the nation to rep well. I've been talking a lot of trash this entire week. I've been talking trash to Harrison that the Raiders fans are going to show up, and I need the nation to show up. So mark this in your calendar and subscribe to youtube.com/chatsportstv. All right, let's get in now to my 5 ways the Oakland Raiders beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. The first reason, run the football. I don't care if we're losing, run the football, because Josh Jacobs right now has been one of the best running backs in the NFL. Now, why do I say run the football? Because in games that the Raiders lose, this is what Josh has done this year. Now, sure, you can say, well, Mitch, negative game scripts, they impact his ability to run. I agree with that. I'm not disagreeing with that. However, he doesn't have a single touchdown in a game that we've lost. Maybe that's a trend. Also, when Josh does run the football, we win games, because right now he's our best offensive weapon. When you can get physical with Josh, it tires down defenses. I mean, he's got all 7 of his touchdowns in games won. So now let's look at those numbers on a per game basis. So he's averaging nearly 10 carries more in games we win. He's averaging nearly 25 yards more in games we win. He's averaging a touchdown a game in games we win. And maybe even the most important stat, especially going up against the Chiefs, first downs. He's picking up 5.5 first downs compared to only 2.2. What does that mean? That means Patrick Mahomes, that Chiefs offense, is sitting their butt down in the cold weather. That's what we need. So everyone who's watching the show right now, let's fill in the blank. Josh Jacobs will have blank rush yards versus the Chiefs. Throw it in the comments section. I need to see at least, I want like 100, all right? Like, let's get some hundreds in there. Let's get some 105s. If the Raiders want to beat the Chiefs, it starts with Josh Jacobs. So Chris Smith says 111. J.D. Brown says 300. Wow. If that happens, I will Venmo you $300. 124 for Jack. Big Worm says 117. Thumper World says 110. I'm seeing a lot of 100s. 280 breakout game. Love it. Keep them coming in there. Josh Jacobs will have blank rushing yards versus the Chiefs. The next reason on how the Raiders beat the Chiefs, it's not rocket science. And if this was called the Rocket Science Report, I'd be broke. Like, let's be real. It's get after Patrick Mahomes. If I have to watch Patrick Mahomes one more time absolutely shred this Raiders defense like I had to watch this past week, or back in week 2, I'm going to go nuts. All right? Because watching a quarterback drop 443 yards, 4 touchdowns, it made me sick to my stomach. And what made me even more sick, and you guys can totally agree with me, is watching that second quarter. I think I would honestly rather watch my grandmother get out of the tub on end than watch Patrick Mahomes' second quarter performance again. I mean, the dude threw for 278 yards and 4 touchdowns in one quarter. Now, Grandma, I love you, and I don't want to see that, but I also don't want to see Patrick Mahomes do this again. So how do we get after him? We got to pin our ears back, and we got to get Maxx Crosby after Mahomes. We got to get Benson Mayowa on the field a little bit more. We got to get Clelin Ferrell in favorable situations. We need to be able to get after Patrick Mahomes. Now, the linebacker show says Max will have 6 sacks. You know what? I'm okay with that. Salt and pepper all day. That's how we're going to have to get after Mahomes. We need to get some sacks here. So everyone who's watching the show right now, we're going to be filling in a lot of blanks here. The Raiders will have blank sacks versus the Chiefs. How many sacks will the Raiders have going up against the Kansas City Chiefs this week? Get your predictions in there. I'll give some shout-outs here. So Chris Smith says 7. Jeff Rogers says 5. Much Pear says 5. Mr. Jr. says 2. Bounce77G says 10. Wow. Juan Hernandez says 7. If you want to get your live answers answered on the show, make sure you guys tune in because I'm live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you turn on those notifications so you know when the Raiders Report goes live. One more shout out here. Give it to Xavier Charles going with 6. The next way. Let's get into it. How the Raiders beat the Chiefs. We got to warm up Derek. Now, what does that mean? There's been a lot of rumors out there, and I talked about it on my rumor show. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. It's on the channel, youtube.com/Raiders Report. But Derek's been kind of poked at for not being very good in cold weather games. And these numbers would suggest that Derek is not good in cold weather games, correct? Yes. But what that doesn't tell you is that he played a 2014 Broncos team who won the Super Bowl the next year. He played a 2015-2016 Chiefs team who won a combined 23 games. And last, he played an Eagles team in 2017 who won the Super Bowl that year. The combined record of the teams that Derek has played in games under 40 degrees, their records combined are 48-16. Now, yes, he did not play well, but I don't know many quarterbacks that would have played, let's say, exceptional against those 4 teams. So the story here is, though, that Derek just can't play in cold weather games. So I call my dad Doppler. Shout out to my dad. He's been ripping on me all freaking week about the Jets. But he's like, Mitch, the wind chill in this game is going to be 19 degrees. That's cold. The wind mile per hour, 18. The high is going to be 40. The low is going to be 27. But it's going to feel like 19 degrees. So how many passing yards will Derek Carr have this week in a cold game? He's averaging 151 or 152 yards per game in games under 40. I need to see some numbers that are higher than 152. Now, even if Derek does throw for 152, if he has 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, protects the football, and we really, really establish a running game with Josh, I'm okay with that. But we need to get him warmed up. Jeff Rogers says, shout out to Richie Renz. Dad, if you're watching, let me know. But I'm seeing some 225s. I'm seeing a 165 from Bernice Marino. Get a picture. Vivier's, oh boy, that was a horrible name call. 153. Diego says 217. How many passing yards for Derek Carr this week going up against the Kansas City Chiefs? And if you want to bet on the Raiders, there's one place to do it. That's at BetDSI. Now, if you also want to bet on NBA games, if you want to bet on college football games, BetDSI is hooked up here, Chat Sports, with the best promo deal on the internet. Chatsports.com/bet. When you go there, you got to use that promo code Raiders120 for 120% deposit bonus. What does that get you? 120% deposit bonus means if you put down $50, you'll get $60 for free. If you put down $100, you get $120 for free. An awesome holiday gift, betting on sports, and some free money in your pocket. Shout out to BetDSI. Let's go to the next way. The Raiders beat the Chiefs. Got to limit the big plays, guys. We got to limit the big plays on defense. What killed us the last time we played the Chiefs? The big plays. So the issue is, it's a lot easier said than done, right? The Chiefs have a lot of very, very talented playmakers, and then when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes who can sling it, it's going to kill you. So last time the Raiders went up against Travis Kelce, he went for 91 yards. Sammy Watkins, sure he's not, I think, ever going to live up to what he could be, but Sammy Watkins is still a field stretcher there, averaging 12.8 yards per catch. The player who we didn't even have, or the Chiefs didn't have the first time we played him, was Tyreek Hill, who I would argue is by far their most lethal weapon on and off the field. So Tyreek Hill, 16.5. Then you have DeMarcus Robinson, who ripped apart the Raiders for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns the first time they played him. But the one player that's really kind of been coming on is Mecole Hardman, who's averaging 19.6 yards per catch. Now, I'm sure seeing all this red on screen, it hurts. But you got to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And the way that you do that is understanding your opponent. And if the Raiders can figure out a way to get after Patrick Mahomes, and if they can figure out a way to take away the big play, it's going to be good things for this team. So they have a lot of talented options on offense. There is no doubt about that. So who needs to step up for the Raiders? You could mention multiple players. But if the Raiders want to beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead, you're going to need one player to really step up. Do you remember a few weeks ago when Eric Harris had a touchdown, 2 picks, should have had 3 picks? That's the type of game that we need this week. We need a player to step up and have a good game. Now, Jermaine Ellerby, I see your comment. YouTube blocks it, but yes, put it in there. You know where. And then AAA says everyone. Bounce 77 says Carr. I'm seeing some Cars. Tyrell Williams, Waller. The cornerbacks and defensive line, I totally agree. So the last way that the Raiders beat the Kansas City Chiefs, be physical. This might be the most important one. The Oakland Raiders can out physical the Chiefs. That sounds weird. But our offensive line can beat their defensive line. Our defensive line, I think, is better than their offensive line. And the way that you beat the Chiefs this year is you out-physical them. All right? I'm going to use it. I'm going to make it a verb. Be more physical than the Chiefs. Because back in Week 5, here are all the Chiefs' losses this year. They lost to the Colts 19-13. We beat the Colts. The Colts beat the Dolphins. Anything can happen any week. But what happened here? Marlon Mack, 29 carries for 132 yards. The Colts, they got physical. Week 6 versus the Texans in Arrowhead. The Texans won 31-24. What happened? Carlos Hyde, 26 carries, 116 yards, and a touchdown. Let's get physical. Type physical in the comments. Week 8 versus the Packers. Another win, 31-24. Where was this game? In Kansas City. Packers running backs. I can't speak. 20 carries, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Sure, it's not the high amount of yardage, but the Packers stuck with the run game, and that's what you need to do against the Chiefs. It keeps Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines. Last one, Week 10 at the Titans, 35-32. Now, the Chiefs totally dominated time of possession. The only thing that they got dominated by was Derrick Henry. 23 carries, 188 yards, and 2 touchdowns. You see a theme? Run the football down their throat, be physical, and keep Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines. So how do the Raiders beat the Chiefs? Run the football, run the football, run the football with JJ. Get after Patrick Mahomes. The more sacks we get, then he doesn't have the ability to stretch the field. Derek, you got to get warm, my man. You've got a lot of people out there saying you can't play in cold games. Prove them wrong. Limit the big plays. We got a lot of banged up players on defense. The Chiefs, they can stretch the field. Limit the big plays. And last and maybe the most important, I want everyone to type physical because let's get physical. Be more physical than the Kansas City Chiefs. The way you do that, you establish the running game with Josh Jacobs and you just go after Patrick Mahomes. Go after him. So run the football, get after Mahomes, warm up Derek, limit big plays, and be physical. So who wants a shout out? I want you guys to follow me on Instagram right now. I'm going to be giving some shout outs here. So we got Scottish 180, Tony Touch, B Moreno, and Smokey Craig. Dylan Wampler, and then Brock Silvers. Those were the last people to follow me on Instagram. I'm about to give some shout-outs, and I'm about to FaceTime some people here live on the Raiders Report. Raider Nation, what's going on? Is this the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube? For Chucky Heads, believe it, baby. And if you haven't already, subscribe right here. I'm giving you Chucky Heads, news, rumors, Raider Nation rumors. And look at this, I'm making your life easier. Check out my next video. Thanks for watching, and go Raiders.